Hey there, Amplifiers. Kenny Harper here, and today we have an expert when it comes to STEM. And if you don't know what STEM is, you're going to find out by listening to this podcast. Our guest today is Aaron L. Smith. He is an author and international speaker, an active educator leading one of the most award-winning STEM magnet schools in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Specializing in advanced workforce development, Dr. Smith brings an inspiring message all over the nation on transformation of STEM public education. So welcome to Growth Amplifiers, Dr. Aaron L. Smith.
Hey, Kenny. Thanks for having me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad to be able to connect with you. You know, we were chatting just a moment ago, and one of the things I really find inspiring is there's a lot of people that get education, they have an expertise, but they don't always take the step of creating a business out of it and building their brand and being able to share a bigger message to the world. And I think that you've taken that step and now you're inspiring others and you're helping provide a lot of transformation in the world. So could you tell us a little bit more about what STEM is and how you're showing up and helping in the world?
Sure. So for those of y'all who don't know what STEM is, it's basically 4 industries put into one: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Sometimes people will use the A, which is the art, the creativity mode, but essentially they all perform the same thing. It's basically when you fuse these concepts or these industries together for product development, if you're in the business area. For teaching, it's the combination of combining multiple skills from multiple subjects. But from an entrepreneurial way, it's the opportunity to bring business and product and information all together in one hub. And that's the beauty of it, is that there's no set boundary. It's depending on what your niche is, what kind of things you feel like you can help serve others with.
I love that. And what got you inspired to start with down this track? You know, there's a lot of different things we could do with our career.
Mm-hmm.
And something typically inspires us to go down a particular path. What got you started with STEM?
Well, I love serving others. And right now my job is an administrator at Denby High School, where I'm doing all kinds of cool things, such as setting up a virtual reality room, a flight sim lab, but I'm also building and learning knowledge myself. And I feel like I love what I do. Why not try to help others along the way and hopefully pay a few tuition bills before they pop up?
Right.
So in between that, it's just creating a brand for myself, marketing a little bit, and just finding a swing zone where I know that my expertise can not only help others, but also at the same time teach me things indirectly as well.
Isn't that so powerful? Sometimes by getting in the space of being able to share and guide others, you grow so much at the same time.
It is.
And
It
I
is.
know a lot of people sometimes think, well, I'm not an expert. There's all these other people that know a lot more than I do. However, I always try to remind people you don't need to know everything. You just need to know enough to be able to guide those you serve.
Right. Right. And that's a part of what I learned. I think starting off, I was too broad.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally figured out if I'm going to be successful, I need to at least have familiarity with subject matter that I know that I can do. For example, I am not an English teacher, so you don't want me to help you correct papers. You don't want me to help you in a professional development, teaching literary terms, if you will. But if you're talking about distance learning and you're talking about STEM implementation through distance learning, boom, you got something that not only captivates my interest, but something that I know that I've tested before and works.
That's another important message. You know, there's always hidden gems coming out of these conversations. And I find it interesting because sometimes you need to hear things a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and you may hear it, you may kind of know it, but when you hear it at the right time in the right way, something clicks. And you just mentioned something that it's kind of insidious. As people try to do everything, they try to be the jack of all trades, and it seems like it would be a good strategy but many times it works against you.
It does.
And how did you find out for yourself that, that focus really was the key?
It took years of failure to
Yay.
realize, yeah, trial by failure, that it wasn't working. I was looking at a breadth concept versus a depth concept. And I wasn't, you know how a spray is versus a focused or a targeted area.
Mm-hmm.
And the spray wasn't hitting anywhere.
Mm,
So it made me recalibrate, because if you don't, you're only going to get more frustrated, lose more money, hence Einstein's definition of insanity. Um, and when I changed to my swing zone, if you will, that's when I started noticing a little traction. You get a little feedback here and there. They like your blog. Boom. Next thing you know, we're having an honest conversation about maybe partnering together, and you keep nurturing it and developing it, and that's where it is, so from when you find out something successful, you continue doing that, but every now and then you make a tiny adjustment to see if it'll work
right.
you know
I think that's a helpful tip for people.
Mhm.
You've got to be able to keep consistency, but also make some adjustments. It seems so basic, and some people can overlook the beauty of basics, but being able to keep consistent with something so you're not just switching all the time. What do I need to do?
Mhm.
You can't build momentum, but then you can't just always do the exact same thing and expect to really change and adapt and grow. So
Yeah.
those little tweaks in there, testing out, saying, all right, I'm going to basically keep focus, but I'm going to try some adjustments here and there. I think that's really a great idea. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, well, it's something I learned from
Mm-hmm.
the hard ropes, but also something that you read and it's like, you big dummy, you should have thought about that sooner. you know and you, let's use Facebook as an example. When you're doing ads, you do an A/B test, so you figure out what works and what works. You manipulate some variables, but you keep some the same, and that helps you have a greater understanding of the impact you will have for the products,
Mm-hmm.
for your audience, and everything else.
There you go. A little changes. So now that we're talking about, growing a business, maybe a little bit about marketing, what do you think is the biggest challenge that you faced in regards to growing your business and taking it to where you want to go?
For me, I think it was getting a way where I can make myself a name. You've got some phenomenal people out there. You've got your gorillas, if you will,
Right.
and you cannot replicate those that are championed in their expertise. But
Mm-hmm.
what you should do is you should learn from their models. You should learn and see what little tricks they picked up that maybe are cost effective for you, that are free, and develop your own system and your own funnel to be successful. you know if you replicate the same model as the champion, nobody's going to want to go to you, because they go to the big one. you know
Right.
that's why you have to create your own niche, your own personality, your own brand, so that people understand that you're different from everybody else. You're specialized.
I love that. You're not the knockoff copy. You're
Mm-mm.
your own flavor. And
Yeah.
and that's an important part. It's tempting for a lot of people to look at someone and want to say, hey, I want to do exactly what they want to do. And
Hmm.
there is, you can model success like you're saying, but to copy and try to be someone else, it usually doesn't work either. So that's a good point. It's good discovery. So what has worked for you? What are some of the things that have really made an impact? And you said, hey, you know what? This is actually working. I'm seeing some things, some results here.
I think number one is just not giving up. You think about it as children, how many times we've hit our butt on the ground after we've wobbled our legs and trying to walk. You cannot accept failure. If you got your heart and you're tried and true in it, you keep persevering, you keep going, you keep sending your message. And through that is just finding out what people to talk to as well. Who are
Mm.
the gatekeepers in the company that really you can have a substantive conversation that hopefully can invite opportunity, you know, and just helping the little people along the way, because that makes a big difference. They echo you in social media. They can do something simple as give you a review on what is it, Google My Business.
They keep changing it.
They do. But it's both. You have to work for profit, but you have to also help the other person, if you will, the little one, at the same time that's growing and cultivating, because you never know when they're going to become a champion and they're going to want your business. It's a balance.
I totally agree. It is a balance. One of the things that as a growth coach, I'm always talking about, how to increase profits, but we increase profits so we can actually increase what we're doing for our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
We need money in order to do things to make a bigger impact.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to kind of balance those things out, because if you're just in it for the money, then what's the point, really? And if you're only looking at the heart-filled end, but you're not paying attention to the money aspect, you're going to run into some challenges.
Yeah.
So you got to look at both. It makes total sense.
Yeah. It's what I tell kids. Do you understand the difference between a job and a career? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to use the example, if you will, flipping burgers at a local restaurant. That's a job because you're paying the bills. A career is something that you have the passion and the fire to go in and do every single day. You can't wait to get there. You're thinking about it when you're not at work. And it's your mojo. It
I
just keeps your adrenaline pumped.
I must say that I heard guiding stars throughout my career, guiding stars who would tell me, follow your passion
Mm-hmm.
and live your dream. And initially, when starting to follow that passion, I was starting to question, is this the right advice? Because if you don't have the other knowledge about how to succeed there, there's a lot of starving artists.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're committed, like you said, you don't give up and you learn the things you need to learn, and then you get past the hump, you say, okay, now I'm here. Now I'm actually working in a career that I love, and I don't feel like I work. And you can look at some other people that may have taken a safer path, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging here.
Yeah.
But if they're not happy, if they're not being fulfilled, if they're not doing and using their best gifts, then I think that's a disservice to both them and those they serve.
It is, because people will sense that. People will know when you're genuine. And at the same time, a lot of times they'll know that when you're being manipulative or you're trying to take advantage of a situation. You know, every dream is different, every person's different. But what's your purpose to turn the dream into reality? Because if it doesn't, it just becomes imagination. And and to me, we're only bound by our imagination. It's up to us to turn it and accelerate it into what we want it to be.
Well spoken. You're very well spoken. So, what's something that you're working on that you'd like to share? What's something that you have got going on? Something you'd like to promote? Tell us something that you got going on.
Let's see. Well, a couple things. One is I've just written a book called Blank Check, and it's a fictional book that basically talks about how you could help reinvent public education if you were given a blank check. And it reminds everybody that the secret to a successful employee, a successful entrepreneur, is being a lifelong learner. And it starts with our children. It starts in the classrooms and how we cultivate that. And that's what that story is all about, is showing people a path to prosperity. Because when the children win, you you find out everybody in the community wins.
And if people wanted to learn more about this book and learn about more about what you're doing right now, how could they find out more?
So you can easily go to my website. It's aaronsmithphd.com. There you'll see my books. You'll see my blog. Definitely take a look at the blogs. I've been focusing a lot on distance learning just because it's something that not only impacts the schools, but it also impacts the workforce as well. And I think there's tips that both areas can utilize.
Very impactful. My tongue is tied sometimes too. Like,
Mine
come
too.
on, mouth, work for me. I was given a webinar yesterday, and that was one of my fun experiences. I kept on trying to read one particular slide, and after the third attempt, I'm like, you can read it for yourself. Okay. Well, I don't know what my tongue's not connected to my mind. So thank you very much for sharing a little bit about your business. Definitely go to aaronsmithphd.com. Learn more about Aaron, what he's doing. Check out his book. And while we're wrapping up, if you could just share one thing you've learned on your journey that may help others on their journey.
Do the things that you can do that doesn't cost money to start off with. For example, one of the things that I found out very easily that you can build yourself is through Canva, canva.com. And this is a place where you can create graphics, you can create reports, charts, and it's a great marketing tool that you don't have to invest money in, and you can build it the way you want it and deliver it to the customers the way they need it.
Got it. I think Canva is an amazing tool. I'm an advocate for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I worked most of my career through Photoshop, but now I'm kind of switching a lot of stuff over to Canva because it gets a lot of the basics done. And they do have a free version.
They do.
And it's in the cloud, which is really handy if you're collaborating with other people.
Yep.
But definitely check it out if you haven't checked out Canva. Even if you're not very tech savvy, they really make it easy to go in there and create some great graphics. There's a copy of the magazine that we have for our podcast, and this is created in Canva. And it's a cool thing. So thank you again for sharing. I'm glad to have you on and connect, and appreciate what you're doing for the world. Thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you, Kenny. And I'm looking forward to many more conversations like this in the future.
Sounds good. To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.